Hello? What's up? Where are you? I can't see you. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Uh, hey! Yeah, man. Nice to meet you. You're in where? Nashville or somewhere near there? Texas? Cool. I was there a year ago. Uh, No, you know what? I was there last year. I had 2 days off there on the Bon Jovi tour. Because the road manager and the wardrobe, there was a lot of people that live in Nashville, so we had days off there. So, but we played like we'd play in Memphis and then fly to Nashville and have the day off in Nashville and then we'd fly somewhere else and then fly back to Nashville and have the day off in Nashville. But it was cool. The funniest thing was we went out to dinner. We went to this steakhouse for dinner, and then we went to this really cool cigar bar on the main drag. It was on the second floor, and it was a trip walking across the street with John Bon Jovi. Because people were like, oh, freaking out. But it was cool. All right. Oh, or maybe you just missed it. Maybe you were there in town the weekend before or after. Well, that's what happens when you divorce the singer. Yeah, by my son. Yeah. Oh no. That was about somebody else. It was years later. Yeah, we split up 2 years ago. So that was the last show. Oh my God, the last powder show was 2 years ago. It's still May, right? Time just flying the fuck by. Hey, by the way, thanks for being flexible. I know I had to switch around on you a couple of times. You tell me. You tell me what you want to work on. You tell me where you would where you wish to improve, and I hopefully supply you with some tools. And then you just go away and woodshed for like as long as you want. And if you have any questions, um, you can email me. Also, if you have a smartphone, you're gonna want to videotape some of this stuff so you can refer to it. Oh, wait, really? Right. Let me know how it works. Is it how much does it cost? Somebody told me about one that was $20. I just think it's weird. I'm not gonna, people are gonna like get lessons. I go, hey, for $20, and everybody else is sitting there like this. Okay, got it. Well, that's what I suggest that too because I know if I was jamming with somebody and I was trying to pick up some stuff that a day later I forget everything. So and we're not writing anything down. We're just doing a visual thing. So if you capture it, then you go, okay, at 14 minutes we did this, and then you can always refer to it. So what do you want to work on? Cool. Oh yeah, yeah, right. But I mean, okay, so obviously learning songs, it's really good to develop your ear, right? And I think when you're trying to get into improvising, you want to get to a point with your ear, like say you're soloing or something like that, and you hear a note in your head, you want to be able to just jump on that note. Like if you're in A, I think I want to go to the A. You know what I mean? I just knew where to go because there's an A here, here, and all over the place. So the whole point is that's your ear. Now, once what to do once you get there, it's also getting from your mind to your hands. So I want to go, and I go, I know exactly how to play it, just singing it in my head. Because I know where the notes are, I know what I need to bend, I know, what the voicing that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So I see what you're saying, where you sit there sometimes about like where do I want to go and what do I want to do. I think what you want to do to be a better guitar player is to have as many um, tools like that to draw from. Like me, I can play super fast, but I don't feel like playing super fast sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes if I'm like, I'd rather do that than something like blistering fast, right? So, I mean, and see, even something like that is simple. You got to really you got to think about stuff at first. And then after a while, you're not thinking anymore. You know what I mean? It just comes natural to you. And I think that's what everybody strives for. Because what I just did, like I pick a lot, but that sometimes a pull off sounds better than picking the note. You know what I mean? It just is a little smoother. So, but it's just natural for me. I know when I like to pick. I know when I like to pull off, and that's how I am. A lot of people don't have that. They're not there yet. But it's establishing what flavor is you. You know what I mean? So the other part of this, which is a huge part of it, is the knowledge of the fretboard, right? Because you could take a pentatonic scale or you could go, which is the exact same scale, but one's taking up 4 frets and one's taking up 10, right? So it's really finding out. It's basically think about your A, right? You do exact same lick in 4 different places, right? And then you get the octave. It's just you gotta think about. It's almost like a map, right? I go, well, I'm gonna start in fucking Texas, and I'm gonna go up to, Florida, and then I'll go up to Baltimore. But the thing is you got to know where all those places are to travel. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. So um, if you want, we can elaborate on the pentatonic scale. 'Cause, I mean, that's what I. Yes, because if you're like, so you're going, right? You're going. Now, if you're going. It's your third. Basically, you got a C and a C sharp, and this is sad, and this is happy. Basically, you're going. That's happy stuff. The thing is most blues, and that third, it usually sounds better smack in the middle between the major and the minor. Like that's why they call it the blue note. That's the blue note. It's not this, and it's not this. It's in between. It's like a quarter tone. You know what I mean? So does that explain that to you? No, not really. Wait, you just froze. Hold on a second. Do that one more time. No, you're freezing, man. Hold on a second. Give it a second. But did you say you're? Is that what you're playing? Something like that? And that's minor to you? Okay. Oh, you're back. Okay, you're back. Okay. That's when you want shitty weather, when you go back to work. Right. Yeah. Right. Hmm. But see, the thing is that's not a sad note. It would be like, see that's a major six of the scale. So it wouldn't be that note. So I'd have to hear it in context. All I did was change that note from instead of going. So I'm still using the same scale, right? But starting on that note. But that note doesn't really work, I don't think. In the sad sense. Okay. Yeah. That's a happy scale. No. Okay. Do you know what the major and relative minor is? Okay. Well, let's do that. Check it out. This is the really cool thing about. See, you know what you're doing here when you go. You're basically doing you're doing the sad pentatonic scale, but in the key of C sharp, right? But at the same time, it's also the E major pentatonic. So you're going. If you start on C sharp, you're in C sharp minor. But if you start on E, it's this exact same scale, but you're starting on a different note, ending on a different note, and that makes it a major version of the scale. Yeah, basically your root is really important, because look at something really simple like the A. Let's do the same key. See, that's a major scale. But when you start on C sharp, now it's a C sharp minor scale. And that's what the relative minor is. You got to figure out where those are. So say we did the E, and the relative minor is the C sharp minor. If I was in A, the relative minor is F sharp minor. It's always, the relative minor is a tone and a half lower. Tone is like, that's a tone. This is a semitone. So, that's a semitone, that's a semitone, that's a semitone. So 3 semitones is a tone and a half. You understand that? Okay. Okay, because I want to show you something else. Wait, you have a question before I show you something else? No, do you have a question before I show you something else? Well, see, you're still playing in E, but you're doing a different voicing of the scale. You're doing the C sharp minor voicing, which sounds right. And then when you, see, in that song, it probably doesn't work. But if you were jamming blues, say you're going, right? So I will show you, I will go back and forth from the F sharp minor pentatonic to the A pentatonic, and you'll totally hear the difference, right? I go. Okay, I'm in F sharp, but I'm playing A, right? And then I just jump to the A pentatonic. So if you're doing blues, you can go back and forth. Right. So, okay, if you're in a major key and you want the relative minor, it's a tone and a half lower. If you're in a minor key and you want the relative major, you go a tone and a half up. You got that? Sure? I'll email it to you. So, because it's the same thing. Say I'm in A minor, the relative major would be C. Hear the difference there? So I'll show you. Let me go back to the A thing so you can see what I'm doing. I went up to F sharp minor again. See how that works? So see, I'm doing, you gotta, the way you think about it, this would be, if I'm doing this lick here, that's F sharp minor pentatonic. If I do it here, that's A pentatonic. Because it's a tone here. I'm going up a tone and a half. We can go into more places, but the thing is, it's sometimes only that kind of stuff only works with like blues, R&B kind of stuff. Like even, well, actually, I'm lying, because sometimes when I play, when I solo in Communication Breakdown, I'll be doing. I'm not. So I switched from E to C sharp minor. So because you can, and in a lot of cases, like say you're jamming in Little Wing, right? This is where it gets really cool because when if you can also do the A. I'm still doing the E minor pentatonic, right? But you can also think of it as a the G major. You hear that works? Yeah. Right. But this still works under, you know, what you just did totally works under the E minor. You know, that can, wait, I'm on a tune a little bit. But you know, I mean, that, to me, that's the beauty of the whole, those two families, the minor pentatonic and the major pentatonic, and it's about where it starts. It's about where it starts. Now, you don't want to always start on your root because it sounds like, no, well, yeah, it's, you don't want to always be like every time you take a solo, you go, like this is how I look at it, right? I always know if I'm about to take a solo, I sing the note that I want to hit in my head, and sometimes it's ooh, and sometimes it's ooh, and sometimes it's like, so they're all bends, but it takes you into where you want to go, right? So the bends are really important because the bends make it sound like you're not doing exercises all day long. Okay? So you got your, and this is a tone and a half bend. We talked about 3 semitones, right? I'm going from the B to the D. There's the full bend, which is 1 tone. And there's also, this is 1 tone. But this is a semitone, just 1 tone, half tone. That kind of thing. You hear it? So, and bends, this is the important thing about bends. If you're going to practice bends, you got to practice to a track, like a backing track you get on iTunes or a looper or something like that, because when you overbend and just go a little bit sharp, you sound like an amateur. So this is a good overbend. This is a bad overbend. You know, like you're fishing for the no, you know what it is, or especially this is the worst. I'm so sharp, it sounds terrible, right? But sometimes you can't hear it because it's got to be in context. You got to be hearing a, you know, so you can hear the context, you can hear all that stuff. So go ahead. Wow. Wolfgang's form, email it to me. Wow, that's awesome. You know what else is, you know what else is amazing? All that Midnight Special YouTube footage. Have you seen that? From AC/DC to KC and the Sunshine Band to all those. That's amazing. You know who was amazing? Hocus Pocus by Focus. on Midnight Special is mind blowing. That's it's so mind blowing. It's amazing to me. Oh yeah, you wonder? It was sick, man. The band is so amazing. It's just so amazing. Well, listen, let me show you something. This is another way to branch out on the fretboard, and this I think you'll find this really helpful. So I'm in E still, and you know when you hear stuff like that kind of thing, you're starting with the top strings on the pentatonic. So what I got is I'm going to go from the E and the B string. I'm going to use pentatonic phrases all the way down to the high note. So I'm starting here. And then it keeps going up or an octave from where we started. So basically, those are all pentatonic boxes, right? And the thing is that you're doing so much on two. That's how I came up with this lick. Because I used those boxes and kind of shuffled them around and put a little slidey thingy in there. So here, I'll show you. So we're on fret 3, 3, open, 3, open. I can't hear you. Do it again. Yeah, okay, good. And now we're doing 5, 3, 5, 3. And then we do 7, 5, 8, 5. Right. Wow, there's a delay. And then we do 10, 7, 10, 8. Then we do 10, 12, 10, 12. So, and then everything's an octave above that. So the point is that if you can practice. First of all, it's really cool because if to get up to a certain speed, you have to keep an eye. It's almost like looking ahead to see what you're doing. Like, and basically, I hit a bad note. And then other things, you can always take that and just add something to it. Like, say I wanted to add the flat 5, like that note, right? I got one here, and one here, and one here. So it would turn into something like this. So basically, this is what you want. Like, say I had never done that before, right? I just showed you the one thing, and I thought, hey, I'm going to add the flat 5 right now. And then you got to know where the flat 5 is. You got to know when you're going to hit it. And it's almost like, at first, that's what I was saying earlier. At first, it's a lot of thinking. And then the more you do it, you want to do less thinking. It just comes natural to you. You know what I mean? Like where you're going to start, what you're going to do in the middle, and how you're going to end, right? Another thing is I always challenge myself with stuff like I'll use the same scale and I'll use the same series of notes, but I'll change. I'll do a 5-note pattern instead of a 4-note pattern. So you have a 22nd fret on that Git? Okay, I'm starting my 22nd fret. And I'm going to hit 3 notes on the E string and 2 notes on the B string. So it's going to sound like, wait. That's the first phrase. So it's like. So basically what you got going on there is it's very fucking tricky because you got 3 notes on one string, 2 notes on another string, and you're confusing your picking hand. But that's something that when you do it really slow and do it over and over and over, when you speed it up, it sounds like that. that kind of thing, right? And it sounds like a cool lick, super fast. So, right? I mean, not everything sounds good fast, but that sounds good fast. So, and that's another thing. It's practicing stuff really, really slow, and not even speeding it up. I mean, for a while, not even speeding it up, just so your hands get used to playing slow together. Because even when like ages ago, before I taught my first lesson, I played everything fast. So when people were like, "Hey, show me that lick," and I tried to slow it down, I couldn't even play it slow. So that says a lot. You should be able to play everything, any tempo, because that means that your hands are working perfect all the time. They're always in sync. They're always talking. You know. So and there's other things too. Like I find, like if I hit a wall, for me, it's not usually a creative wall. It's usually an ability wall. Like I can't do this, so I'm gonna do it until I can, kind of thing. Like when I started, I don't know if you've seen any videos of this, but I started picking the tapping part to Eruption. Oh, maybe you have. It's kind of like. So anyways, the whole point is that I could do this all day long. And I could do this. But I could not do. My fingers were like, fuck you, man. We don't do that. So I just had to get a metronome going, turn the TV on, and just watch TV and just go. And then I changed it. So I actually had to train my hand to do that phrase because I've never done it before. And it's funny because I've been playing for fucking years. So for me to have a phrase that my fingers weren't used to was weird. So I had to kick its ass, basically. So, I mean, and it's funny because I love telling people that because everybody that watches my YouTube videos think I can play anything. Well, it's not true. I have my limits, but I don't want limits. So when I hit a limit, I try to get through it, Yeah. Right. Right. And that's another thing too. I try not to play everything with a lot of distortion. I feel like I was kind of playing sloppy now, so I gave myself a little bit of gain. It's that kind of thing. But the thing is too, is people will practice something and they'll go, and then, oh, I can speed it up. And then they're like, and then, oh, that wasn't bad. I can speed up. But no, it was bad. So don't speed up yet. Because people don't understand that before you go any further, you got to have it locked at this tempo before you go faster. Because if it's sloppy there, it's just going to stay sloppy. Even me, I have to, there's licks that I have to practice before I do a drill show. Because sometimes my hands don't want to do it. So, but if I play this, like we have a song called Sunny Days, and there's a lick in it, then it goes, I'll play it slow for you. It's like. And basically what that is, I'm in B, right? And the phrase comes from Eddie Van Halen. It comes with, so it's kind of like, but I have a high note and I change the series of notes. So I get, now if I do that slow a couple of times without a mistake, that means when I go on stage and have to do it up to speed, I nail it because my hands are ready. You know what I mean? There's the muscle memory. But if I'm backstage and I go, I'm going to go on stage and play it like that. You can have that, So that's another thing to think about. It's like there's a few licks that I have to practice the beer song solo that I wish my beer was as cold as your heart. I have to practice the string skipping thing in the solo of Hotel California. There's a couple of things that I gotta really slow down before I go on stage, and then once I get on stage, then I can play anything. It's kind of like a really cool thing. No, I've done it. You know what? It's got to be like, and you know, it's weird when you play in LA. There's so many bands on stage. You get a 15-minute changeover. So I try to do the changeover as soon as I can, tone, and then while they're doing the bass or something, I'm just without even being able to hear it. I'm just going. Sometimes I'll even warm up with Flight of the Bumblebee, but really slow, like. That whole thing. I just got to do it nice and slow, get my hands going. Hey, man, what's happening? Hey, I'm all right. How you doing? You know, what'd you do last weekend? That whole thing, right? The hands are talking. And then when you get on stage, you feel like you can play almost anything. It's kind of cool. Without having to speed it up before I go on stage. I have to reiterate that because it's not like you have to practice. Okay, I got to get it up to speed before I go on stage. I don't believe in that. I think you just want to get your hands doing it right, nice and slow. And then, like, if anything, I have to do a couple of things fast just so my hand doesn't cramp up on stage. Like, I'll get it right here. I'll get the nerve go, fuck you. If I try to do something like the eruption thing without warming up, my hand's going to be, like, freaking out. So, yeah, that's that kind of thing. Yeah. Right. But this is the thing. I noticed, this is what I noticed. I noticed that, like, I mean, you can let it freak you out too. Like, there was a time, I forget what it was. I was doing a show, and I had a guitar tech, and we were doing a powder show. And for some reason, I was going through a battery. Like, I only use batteries, you know, my pedals. No adapters, fuck adapters. I'm only going to use batteries. Fuck it, right? So I went through a phase. The thing is my guy threw my pedal board in the box, and they left everything plugged in. So it killed all my batteries. So I opened it up for the drill show, opening up for Steel Panther like a couple of years ago at the Key Club. And I'm like, oh my God, I got no overdrive pedal. I had one battery with me, one 9-volt, and I put it in the tuner. Like, fuck the overdrive, I need to be in tune. And I go crazy sometimes, so I got to tune between songs. So I have a tuner, and then I'm thinking, instead of, you know, like, if I would have been in the middle of the show and stepped on the overdrive pedal and it didn't work, it would have probably freaked me out. But knowing in advance, I could just go, okay, guys, it's up to you, right? So, and the funny thing was, and this is what I learned, this was a valuable lesson, because I didn't use an overdrive, and I knew that it had to be in my hands, and I knew I had to have my hands bang on. I had more people walk up to me than any other show going, holy shit, you sounded amazing tonight, because you could hear every note. There wasn't any cloud. There wasn't any, you know, you're not hiding the error factor with a ton of gain. So it was like, wow, I'm going to implement that. I'm really going to implement not using as much gain, you know, because I think it's really important. I think too many people hide behind a lot of gain, and they think, like, I get mail all the time from all over the world, and one guy was like, hey man, what overdrive pedal will make me sound better? And I'm like, yeah, it's called practice. That's it, exactly. That's what you need to do, man. People don't understand. It's all in the hands. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, totally. Well, that's good. It's good to listen to different kinds of music too. You know, especially the funky stuff is crazy. Some of those guys were playing like crazy stuff. There was Solar Tower of Power stuff that I heard, and there was some solos that original guy did that were like, wow, man, like really cool, bendy, and it's clean. It's like a 335 into a clean amp, and it's pretty mind blowing. That kind of stuff I listen to, and it makes me appreciate that, and it makes me want to be able to pull that out if I want to. You know, like I'll get up and jam with a band or something, and instead of totally ripping, I'll do the solo completely with just my fingers, like Beck. Because and then like, and it's just all, you know, and it slows you down. You can't overplay if you're playing with your thumb and finger, right? I mean, unless you're Mark Knopfler, and then you can do that whole. I haven't done it in a long time. That's fucking crazy shit, man. I need to work on it. And it's like almost like what a bass player does, or what a classical guitar player does. It's hard to get that going. But at the same time, it sounds amazing when you nail it, you know? So something like that, I mean, like, oh, you know, I'll be watching TV and I'll grab, actually, I don't even watch TV anymore, but I'll be like, what do I got to do today? And then, hey, why don't you pick up your guitar and work on that Mark Knopfler lick? And, you know, it's really important. Like, I always try to do something. If I don't practice a lot, so when I do practice, I try to either write or come up with a new lick. Like, it'll be like, okay, and you know what? Sometimes it's because people are like, hey, I'm in a pentatonic rut. What should I do? I'm like, holy shit, dude. So I think of what else can I do with a pentatonic rut riff that I haven't done? Because this scale, that's the one that we did, that I showed you, is getting around, making the pentatonic, stretching it out, right? So I did like, and that's basically the same scale, just starting way down here. It's the same scale, but spreading it out. And then I try to bend the G note every time, just up to the blue note a little bit. So that's a bit of a challenge. And then you take something like this phrase. Same thing, but again, spreading it out with slides, right? Nice and slow. But then I go, well, how can I make it more interesting? So I go, and then I'll say I want to repeat that note, but I want to slide up to it. So I go, right? So now keep that going, and it sounds like. So it's that kind of thing. That's all pentatonic. So when people call me up and they're like, hey man, I'm in a pentatonic rut, I'm like, fuck you. You're not using your imagination. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the. Well, see, that's the thing. It's nice to that could be your finale. You know what I mean? You're playing with like 4 notes, like. You know, and then throw it in at the end. You know what I mean? But when you're, yeah, it's like the best blues solos are sung. You can sing it. And that's the really cool part about the whole thing, man. It's like music is it's supposed to come from here. It's not supposed to come from here. But what? Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you like? What? Name some. Right. Right. Well, I mean, they still did really well. They sell a lot of records. It's pretty crazy. But you know, it's funny because I still go back to 1980. Back in Black is one of my favorite records of all time. And some of those songs are just it's the simplest and the simple riffs and the simple solos, but simple, but really cool vibe, and the screaming. And dude, that I mean, it stands up. That record still goes gold every year. It's insane. It's got to be one in every 18 people in America owns that record or something. Yeah, like they're all grandparents. Those guys. Right. Yeah. Which one? Okay. Play. Play that. Play the song. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Right. Got it. I think that's kind of cool. I mean, there's this, and there's also that other phrase, like you know when you're going. Sometimes you can go, and you sometimes you can go, which is I love that chord. I use it all the time. But its best use is I get you. You know, it's such a great chord. Yeah. Except you wouldn't hit the E string. It would just be the phrase is the high note would be this. Yeah, I mean you could maybe flatten your middle finger. But that's usually what I just wrote a song. But no, that you know what that is? That's if that's what you're doing, that's a B chord with a D sharp bass. So basically, your lowest note is the major third. You know when you play this chord, D, and you know when you add this, that's the same kind of thing. But it's this, it's the same thing as this, and the same thing as this. So it's not a minor chord. It's a very very major chord. But it's one of those things that you can move around too. Like, you know, it makes it sound. You could do that or this. It's the same chords. You're just changing the bass note. Wait, say that one more time. Oh, yeah, yeah. The brother, yeah. Plush? Is it plush? I think it's plush, right? But I love that. I love that. That was the coolest thing because it was like, who uses that chord? Nobody uses that chord. But then they simplify it for the verse. Yeah, there's that chord again. It's a cool chord. So the girls. That's a really important one. But you know what? It's training your ear so it recognizes when you can use what. You know, it's like when it's the major minor thing that we were talking about, and that's your ear will realize. Like you did actually. You even before we started, you said, sometimes you try to play this note in that scale and it doesn't or you try to use that scale in this solo and it doesn't quite work because for one reason or another. But you recognize that, which is an awesome thing because a lot of people don't. Right. Well, yeah, and then sometimes I don't know. Yeah, I guess it depends. You gotta. It's good to get an idea of what chords are being used and then spending time with it later and figuring out, wow, they did this and they did that, and if I wanted to hit these notes, they work under this chord but not this chord, kind of thing. It's almost like math, you know. It's coming up with equations. This stuff works and this stuff doesn't. So how can I implement this? You know, like I love dissonance. I love awkward, odd sounding stuff sometimes, but I don't like it to be so odd that it sounds bad. I like it to be like if I was doing like if I do something like so it's kind of like throwing in a Greek flavor and also the dissonance thing, which I love, like hitting a semitone and hitting both notes so they both ring out and it sounds kind of crazy. But there's sometimes you could do stuff and it's like, wow, that didn't quite work. But I love this note. If someone goes to this chord, I love this note. You know, and it's not for everybody, but I love that note. What's it called? Oh, cool. GuitarBT.com. I'll check that out. Yeah, it's perfect. You know what you should do? I'm eating my hair. What you should do is when you're just jamming around with backing track, and I think you should record yourself and the backing track, because when you're searching for stuff, like a lot of people say, I played backing tracks, but I just feel like I'm doing the same licks over and over and over. Now the thing is, the more you improvise, um, it's hard to be objective when you're trying to come up with stuff. So you could come up with a great lick, but it went over your head because you weren't looking for it. So when you record it and listen back, you go, holy shit, what was that? That was really cool. And now you have a lick that you came up with. You know what I mean? I don't think enough people do that too. But it's one of those things where you gotta step away from it. Otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy. Like I do that a lot too. I'll just not even do a backing track. I'll just record myself for 30 minutes and just shred. And then when I'm driving somewhere, I'll listen to it and I go, fuck, that lick was cool. You know? I did that line. There's a video of us in Ontario, excuse me, last September or the end of August or something like that, and we did Sunny Days by the Drills, and I did this lick at the beginning that I think is so amazing, but I can't even lift it. I just can't. I mean, I know the vicinity and I know what's happening, but I can't just what the it's pretty crazy. I love when that happens. But and then I'm like, and then I'll post something like, something like, yeah, I just listened to a lick that I couldn't even lift that I did last week, and then my buddy calls me and he goes, you just got to stop improvising, like for a joke, obviously, right? You'll never stump yourself. Yeah. No. What song's on it? Yeah, I know Danny, California. Yeah, I remember that song. Play it. Well, I'll have to listen to it. I'll have to listen to it. I'll listen to it. I'll check it out. So anything else you want to cover? Please, Nashville, man. That would be so awesome. I'd love to go and play there. But listen, man, you can feel free to email me anytime if you have any questions, or you watch the video and you're like, hey, you talked about something like this, and I kind of, or if you have any questions, you feel free to email me anytime. Yeah, they have been too. I follow them. I should. Yeah. Some of them. There was depending on the show in the video. Ninette had a team that they'd never worked with Cirque du Soleil, but we also had guests. There was a guy that did the show a couple of times that he was in Cirque du Soleil. He was in O specifically, and his wife has also did some aerial stuff, and she was also in O specifically. And then there's some other guys that did some other stuff, but for the most part, my ex and the team that she built together, they all just started. They had all met at different schools, and then she said, "Hey, you're really good. I've been doing this. Why don't you be in my show?" And it turned into that. And then Pink stole it. Yeah, dude, I'd love to. I think I'm gonna really start focusing on it when I come back because people have been bugging us to tour the states for a really long time, and now people are giving me flack. They're like, "What the fuck? You're going to the UK, but you can't come and play Philadelphia, or you can't come and play Nashville, or you can't come and play, Baltimore. What the hell?" So I know there's a demand. So I just gotta convince some agents that people really want to see it. Yeah. Okay, Dave. Well, listen, man. Have a great night. That's it. Is it 7 there? 7? Okay. Well, work on that shit. Dude, let me know if it didn't record or if it's really shitty quality. Okay. No problem, buddy. Have a great night. Bye.